Day. Welcome to Porchlight Letters podcast number 2384. And today we are answering the question, can lost stories be recovered without DNA testing? Great question. Not every lost story requires a DNA match to be found. So no, you do not need to have DNA testing, and you can DNA testing to help. It will help uncover some stories, but not all of them, or not most of them. So yes, you can recover. Lost stories can be recovered without DNA testing, and some can be recovered with DNA testing. So let's have a look at some of the ways that we can do this. Traditional records often reconnect missing pieces. Census records, church registers, newspapers are frequently reveal relationships that family forgot. For example, a census listing an unexpected relative in the household may uncover a hidden sibling or an extended kin connection. And this happens so many times. Sometimes it'll be in there, there'll be this woman's name there, and you say, well, who's that woman? And of course, under the column that says relationship to head of house, it might have mother-in-law or sister-in-law. So you're like, oh, so that's the mother of the wife or the sister of the wife. Although a sister-in-law could also mean it's the wife of a brother of the head of the house, if he's not visiting at the same time. So, but you can find. So, for example, I'm sorry, it's Monday. That's all I can say. Patterns can rebuild relationships. Repeated surnames appearing as witnesses on documents often signal family ties. So a neighbor signing multiple marriage records may turn out to be a cousin or an in-law. So always, 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 when you're looking at records, remember, look above, look below, look beside, look around, who's around the area if it's a census report, who is signing the marriage certificates, who is the witness on the wills, on the probate, for the probates. Go into the probate files, pull up the will, and see who witnessed it. Because I don't know if it's still in law now, but there was a law in the States that said if you are named in the will, you don't even have to be inheriting anything, but if you are named in the will, you cannot be a witness for the person signing it, which I thought is a very good one to have. So sometimes you have neighbors come in there, and they were not allowed to be related, and not allowed to be related, and were not allowed to be named in the will. So it wasn't allowed to be a relative or somebody named in the will. Context fills emotional gaps. Even when names are missing, understanding the time and place helps reconstruct likely experience. A migration due to an economic depression explains choice without genetic proof. The same with religious persecutions, political persecution, whatever reason there was that they were, whatever life changes they were going through at the time. Sorry, not life changes, whatever was happening in their lives at the time that caused the migration, these can be explained without genetic proof. Although you can use DNA to figure out where your ancestors have come from. You can actually trace your ancestors back based on, if you get a Y DNA testing done, which only the men can get done, and the X chromosome for the women, they all trace, the Ys and the X's trace back to the haplogroups that you originated from. And you can actually follow the migration over the years, because those two chromosomes have very, very little change over thousands of years. So they can actually track you back to your original haplogroup, which is really kind of cool. It's amazing what DNA will tell you. DNA confirms but does not replace research. DNA is a tool, but not a substitute for storytelling. Many stories are recovered through records alone, not just DNA, through records alone. And please, 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 and I'm going to keep repeating this time and time and time and time again, because I see so many people when they're talking about their DNA results and the number of centimorgans, well, they're saying that the centimorgans mean that this is this person related to me, and The centimorgans are so here is the thing. DNA proves you are blood related. Genealogy proves how you are related. One proves you're blood related, the other proves how. DNA does not prove how you are related. Yes, I know it. I have seen it on Ancestry every time, and every Facebook group that I am in for genealogy, and they're talking about DNA results. On Ancestry, it's always, oh, well, Ancestry says that I've got this many centimorgans in common with this person, which makes them, third cousin, fourth cousin, whatever. Scrap that. Scrap it. That is only a guesstimate. And sometimes it is a way off guesstimate. My aunt was listed as my first cousin once removed because of the number of centimorgans we had in common. And I looked at that and went, yeah, there's no way she's my first cousin once removed. She is my aunt. So, yeah. So please, please, please remember that when you're looking at DNA results. The centimorgans is a very, very, very rough estimate guideline, especially if you're trying to figure out how many generations do I need to go back. It's just a guideline. It doesn't tell you how you are related. It just shows that you are related by blood. That's it. Careful interpretation requires narrative. Genealogy is detective work. That's why I like it so much. I love mysteries. I love watching mysteries, thrillers, those sorts of things where there's all these great twists and everything. I just finished watching All Her Fault. It was an 8-episode series, and it was awesome. And there were lots of twists and turns in there. And I thought I had it figured out. Yep, no, I was way off base. I was way off base. But the fun part was it's detective work. When clues are assembled patiently, stories emerge. And I love going through the records. I don't rush through. I take my time. I look at the records. Does it actually relate to this person? I have spreadsheets set up that have the person's name across the top, and then we'll have different birth dates and places and marriages, spouses' names and place and marriage dates and places, and all of it listed down the side, and then fill in the columns so I can look across and see are there any that match, because it means that this person and this person might actually be the same person. So it's kind of interesting when you have a number of people. I wish I had known about this many years ago, back probably about 20 years ago, when I was looking for a John Eakins that fit in my tree. I went through 181 different John Eakins to find the one that fitted in my tree. Now, were those 181s repeats? Probably, because I wasn't tracking. I wasn't taking notes of which ones I had already read. So going through I was taking note of the number that I was dealing with. So looking back, I probably did have a lot of repeats in there, but because I didn't have it out on a spreadsheet, I didn't know. And I didn't write it down, my sources and everything. That's backward before I learned sourcing and before I learned record keeping, log keeping and that sort of thing. I learned a lot of new skills over the years that have helped me. And I look back at what I originally did and think, man, I probably wasted so much time because I went back and repeated. And I counted 181 places that I'd gone to, and many of those were probably repeats. But because I didn't keep records, I don't know. But I can tell you here right now, many of them are repeats. So you've got to take your time. You have to be patient about this. This is not a marathon. This is not a sprint. It is a marathon. It's detective work, and it is a marathon. If you ask any detective and any crimes and stuff that they do, how many of them do they solve within 24 hours compared to how many of them take weeks or months to solve? It's very enlightening, but they have to be very patient. Yes, in some places they have to rush through some things because of circumstances and things, but genealogy is detective work, and we have to be patient. We are running a marathon. We are not running a sprint. And why all this matters is families often delay research, believing that they need DNA when they already have usable evidence. So start with records and patterns before assuming testing is required. Want help rebuilding stories? Send us a private message. Let's set up a 30-minute free, no obligation discovery call to help get you on the path to help rebuilding your stories and things. Excuse me. And in closing, stories are often waiting in records we already have. And when you discover you've already had the records, you're like, what took me so long? So go back to your records. Here's another practical takeaway for today. Go back to your records to see what you already have. Take note of the stuff you already have. Write out the stories that are related to those documents and see what you uncover that way as well. And with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening. And we will be back here tomorrow evening at, I think it's regular time. Let me double check. Yes, at 6 p.m. Pacific. So What am I saying? Oh, yeah, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Have a super fantastic sparkling evening. He konera.